Hi, and welcome back to the shop. Making a few storm windows in this episode. I've already made the frames. These are very specific size windows because they're old windows. I couldn't find replacements anywhere. That's why I'm making them. So you'll probably be able to pick a few parts from the video here and there that can help you with your project, but it's definitely not a standard size window. So I made the frames. And then the miters are reinforced with dominoes and then just pinned together, but the strength comes from the domino. And I'm at the point now where I'm ready to cut the plexiglass. Cutting plexiglass on the table saw can be a little tricky. I used to think that putting the blade on backwards, so it was a reverse cut, was a good idea, but I don't really think that anymore. I haven't done it in a very long time. I think it is a good idea to raise the blade up a little bit so you get the downward motion. That'll keep the glass tight against the table and prevent the plexiglass from riding over the blade. It's also very flexible, so we'll just get a wide angle shot and I'll show you how I handle the sheet as I push it through the saw. Another good way to cut plexiglass is with a track saw. This track isn't long enough to make what I'll call the rip, but it is long enough to make the cross cut. And if you're wondering, when did I get a track saw? I didn't. This is my son Walter's. And that's one of the perks of having your kids get into woodworking. The track saw makes a really nice cut, better than the table saw. It's a nice clean edge. You don't have that kind of chopping down, which leads to a little bit of blowout on the bottom of the cut when you cut with the table saw. Now I can take off the plastic coating and drop the plexiglass into the frame. And I painted these frames with Benjamin Moore Command. If you haven't used that paint, I really like it. It dries very fast. So I was able to get 2 coats on both sides of the frame, sanding in between coats. I sprayed it with the Fuji Q5 HVLP. And I also sprayed the molding that will lock in the plexiglass here. So that's a good fit. I'll go ahead and take off this plastic here. And then we'll just picture frame the inside and that'll lock the plexiglass in place. With the first miter cut, I'll push the molding to the inside corner, make a mark, and you'll notice that I'm using a sacrificial fence on my miter saw, and that allows me to line that mark up with the kerf and get a perfect miter. I'm not going to use any glue because I want to make sure that I can remove this plexiglass if I need to. It's a good fit. And these are just little pin nails, making sure I don't blow through the front of the frame. That cut is maybe a little too tight. I want to take just a bit of that spring out. It's actually pretty good. But let's go ahead and just take a tiny bit off. And I've heard people call this a bump cut. It's a good explanation for it. So we'll go ahead and make one of those cuts so you can see what I'm talking about. I just want to take a little bit off this miter. To make this cut, I'm going to bring the blade down, push the molding into the blade, and because the teeth are a little beyond the blade, when I pick the blade back up and try to bring it down again, you can see it's now hitting the molding, and that's just a little bit of material that I'm going to shave off. I'll put my one corner in, flex the molding, and you can see it's not quite as, there's not much of a flex there anymore. So it's a good fit. I got nice tight miters, and now I'll use the pin nailer and attach it. All right, well, this window is now finished and ready to bring inside. I'm holding the windows in place with these little metal brackets. I ended up making these. I started off with just a 2-inch long bracket that I picked up at the hardware store, cut it in half with the cutoff wheel, and then put a sanding disc in the grinder and rounded it over a little bit to get that kind of a bull nose shape. And then I sprayed the brackets with the Benjamin Moore Command. And again, that's just another nice thing I like about the Command is it dries really fast and sticks to just about anything. So before we bring this in, I just want to remind you of all the woodworking projects on my website. If you'd like to build the furniture for your home, there's a ton of great projects on my site, everything from dining tables to bookcases, some outdoor furniture, planters, all kinds of really good woodworking projects, and they all have free video tutorials that you can find right here on YouTube. So I hope that you'll click on the link right here and let me help you with your next woodworking project. Now let's go ahead and bring this window inside and see how it looks. Let's hope this fits. It's going to be tight. Nice. Okay, well, pretty happy with the way these turned out. I know it's kind of a specific type of a project for this room and these windows, but maybe you picked up a few tips that can help you with a project that's similar. On another note, this is a project from about 7 years ago. It's the TV lift cabinet. I just bought a new TV for it, and it just fits by about 1/8 of an inch on each side. I really like this project. We use it to this day. You can tell why we would want a TV lift cabinet when you see all the windows in the room. Anyway, I just thought I'd show it to you again because it's been a while. I posted it on Instagram. A few people hadn't seen it yet, and they were sort of pretty excited about it. I think that the Sapele top with the painted cabinet is just a classic. And here you are 7 years later, and I think it still looks great. So if you're looking for a project, maybe this is something you want to build. I don't have professional plans for this, but I think I do have hand-drawn plans, and I think there's links to the project video. So I'll put a link to this project down in the description below if you want to check it out. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.